Wow, how's that for some feedback soup? I don't know if you guys heard it, but I heard it here. Still got some sound issues going on here in the studio, but no worries. I'm resilient, and resilience, I think, is a big part of this game. I'm telling you, when you do live shows, when you go live, you're basically a self-production. So you work hard to keep things working. You work hard to keep things lined up and updated and fully functioning. And 95, 97, 98, 99% of the time, everything works great. But then one time, I guarantee you, if you're doing live shows, things are just going to hit the fan and they're just going to blow up. And I remember I used to be so stressed about live shows. Not because they worried me, but because I just wanted things to go well, because I wanted to do the best shows that I could do. I wanted to give you guys the best production that I could and the best bang for your buck, so to speak, and all of that. And then when things would go sideways, it was so frustrating. And over the years, though, after having this happen so many times, it just becomes a chuckle. It just becomes well, I guess we're going to roll with this. Because you don't really have any choice. You don't really have an option to, there's no plan Bs. There's no fallbacks. There's, no big network to come in and technicians running around to keep things going. So when things go sideways, you just got to roll with it. So that's what we do here on the portal. And I'm working on it as quickly as I can. Actually, I'm alone tonight because Sheldon was going to be here with me, but he ran into his own bed of sorrow as far as updates go. So I don't know what's going on with the updates lately, but Sheldon's kind of dead in the water too, and he's all frustrated. And he sends his apologies that he couldn't be here, but he really wanted to be, but he's got some sound video issues going on in his updates. So I think it's something to do with this latest batch of updates, and maybe it has to do with specific hardware configurations. But man, it nukes them. So anyway, it'll be just you guys and me. You guys are my co-host tonight, so I hope you'll bear with me as well as you can. I'm feeling much better all the time. This cold is slowly and but surely we're fading into obscurity. Just got the whole nasty sinusy, I don't know, crap still clearing out, and so I might be kind of froggy from here to there. We'll get there. We'll deal with it. But I still, as the saying goes, the show must go on. And here I am, bringing the show on. So good to see you all. I see Chucky's here from the depths of somewhere in Mexico currently. So good to see you, brother, and good to see everybody here. Wizard Moon, Rachel, how you doing? Lucky Gypsy was the first one in the door. Let's see. Anybody else? I don't know. Diane Fowler's here. How you doing, Diane? Good to see you. Eric is here. Where was it? John LaBella's here. There's a bunch of you guys coming in the door, so we're getting the ball rolling here. We always kind of have a slow roll at the beginning, and then people start coming in. But we've got a lot to get to, as always, regardless if it's just me or 15 people here hosting the show. We still got the same things to get to. We're going to get to the news, which is coming up just momentarily, and then we're going to get to the Discord question of the week. Chucky, even though he's voyaging the face of the earth, he's still managing to put up the questions of the week. So thank you, Chucky, for that. Thanks for keeping that ball rolling. How you doing? Good to see you, Chucky. He says, howdy, Brent. Howdy. He said, ¿Qué pasa, amigo? I hope everything's going good down there, brother. Portal Mom just came in. How you doing? Good to see you, Mom. And Birdie Kuda, good to see you as well. So lots of people just coming in. They're finding their way. Could be notifications take a while. I'm not sure. But whenever you get here, I'm just happy you get here. And if you can't make it for the live shows, thank you to those of you who always message me after you watch the pre-records or the recorded shows. I really appreciate that. It's just very cool. And honestly, it's still, it's still such an amazing thing when people, oh, sorry, I couldn't make the live show. Like they send me apologies. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You are, whenever you can watch these shows. And the fact that you do watch them, even though you miss the lives, to me is just amazing. So, you guys never owe me an apology or any reasoning. It's just, I love that you guys come here. I love that you've made it part of your world, and I'm absolutely honored. So, but thank you to those of you who've messaged. I do love reading those messages. It's just kind of like, wow, yeah, it's okay. I understand life happens. Life happens. And damn it, life happens sometimes. So without further ado, I guess we can get to the news and start the ball rolling. So hopefully I've pulled up some elements that will teach you and expand your worldview as well as entertain you. I don't know if I'll hit all those boxes or not, or check all those boxes, but I'm going to do the best I know how anyway. So it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the news. All right. Well, damn it. I had a nasty feedback that I couldn't get rid of. So I started playing the fader there like I was a DJ. I was like, waka, 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 waka. Sorry about that. I don't know where the hell that... Could you guys hear that? Could you let me know if you could? It was nasty in my ears. It was like... Just an obnoxious sound, but some kind of feedback. Did you guys hear it? It sounded like a UFO. Yeah. Okay. So you did hear it. Okay. Yeah, it's just dumb. I don't know what the hell's wrong. I just technology. I love it and I despise it at the same time. It's like, yeah, okay. Birdie Kuda heard it. I didn't hear anything. Diane says, "Turn up your volume, Diane. You're listening too low. You can't appreciate the subtle beauty that is the Paranormal Portal on a low volume. You've got to crank it up to hear all the stupidity possible." So. Anyway, let's get to the news. I've been curating some articles on your behalf. hopefully to leave you in a state of utter amazement and education all at the same time, and again to expand your worldview. And the first one up, what the hell is an ad popping up for? And it's not going away. It's not giving me anything to get rid of it. Oh, you bastard. Oh, you scurvy landlubber. Let's get rid of that. It won't even let me. Oh, there it finally comes. Hold on. I just gotta wait for the stupid ad thing to get done. Oh, I don't like this stuff. Can I just close it? What the hell? No, it's not even. I'm gonna close this article and relaunch it. Which one was this? That's just frosting my flakes. What the hell is that? I'm pulling over. I reopened it. I'm going to try pulling it over, see if I can do better this time. No, it still came up yet. Greasy bastard. Why? It's just going to be a pain in my tail. All right. Well, it doesn't really come up with anything, so I guess we'll look at it as best we can. Although that just really pisses me off. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do this. Screw you guys. I'm going to do this. Screw those guys, because I'm going to do it this way. There's always a way around it, folks. There's always a way around it, and this is the way we're going to do it. I may have to do this for every article, but either way, we're not going to watch that garbage. All right, here we go. I just opened it up through the Brave browser. I usually do the news just through my standard Chrome browser, but no longer if that's what they're going to give me is that garbage. So here's the first article up tonight on the news from unexplained-mysteries.com. God bless them. They do a wonderful job. Please support their site. It is truly breathtaking. And they do a phenomenal job. So Peruvian villagers claim to be under attack by 7-foot-tall aliens. God, that sounds like that call from Las Vegas, that 911 call, right? There was these huge 7-8 feet tall aliens they were dealing with. A bizarre story out of Peru this week concerns a village that has been plagued by mysterious assailants. According to reports, members of the Iquitu tribe in the rural Peruvian district believe they've been attacked by 7-foot-tall aliens that have been dubbed Los Palacaras, or the face peelers. Oh, dear God. They peel your face? Described as having large heads and yellow eyes, these mysterious assailants are said to be invulnerable to weapons and have been linked to attacks on multiple villagers. One victim, a 15-year-old girl, ended up in the hospital. Some of the locals have now taken to conducting night patrols, and there have been calls for the military to get involved before someone is seriously hurt or worse. We've met almost face-to-face, one witness, community leader Jairo I don't know. This guy, I'm going to just highlight it for you. How would you say that? Riategui Davila was quoted as saying, "His face is hardly visible. I've seen his whole body floating at a height of 1 meter. We need support for our community. The children do not sleep, and the mothers stay up all night, and they appear to be armored. I shot one of them twice, and he wasn't injured. He rose and disappeared. Their shoes are round-shaped, which they use to float. Their heads are long, they wear a mask, and their eyes are yellowish, and they are experts at escaping. Exactly who or what these mysterious attackers are, however, remains something of a mystery." So, how's that for a little creepy deal? I don't know where they come up with the face peelers. Do they peel their own faces, or are they peeling people's faces? Where does that name come from? Because that's kind of an important part of the story. Are they violent in that regard? Like they try to peel your face off? Or is there something else at work here? They peel their own face off, like, "Ooh, check this out, whoa." And they do it. I don't know. That's creepy as hell, though. That's a terrible name. As far as names go, I don't like that name, the face peelers. But let's get to the next article up here on the news, and we'll see what's up with this one. I'm just going to use that same tab and paste over the top of it because I'm done with the ads. All right, excuse me. Sorry. As I said, I'm going to be froggy, so just do your best. I'm sorry. It's kind of gross. Okay, here's next one. God, is this one long? No, it's not even long at all. All right, so this one's from unexplained-mysteries.com. Scientists suggest that humans could theoretically live for 20,000 years. Well, I mean, I heard stories. There's biblical references to people living thousands of years. So I don't know if if that qualifies as a fact for some people, but I mean, it's not unheard of. Let's see. A professor of molecular, what is that? Biogerontology? Okay. Biogerontology has indicated that humans could potentially live for much longer than we do now. Mankind has been obsessed with gaining immortality for thousands of years, but even despite the incredible advances in science and medicine achieved over the last few centuries, our species still remains just as vulnerable to the aging process as our ancestors were millions of years ago. I like how they say millions now. They used to only say thousands. In the not-too-distant future, however, advances in medical technology could very realistically offer the opportunity to turn back the clock and might eventually be able to stop it entirely. Enter, wow, Pedro de Magalhães, professor of molecular biogerontology at the Institute of Inflammation and Aging at the University of Birmingham, England. By studying the genomes of long-lived animals such as bowhead whales and naked mole rats, he's determined that by eliminating aging on a cellular level, it should be possible for humans to live for thousands of years, even possibly as much as 20,000 years. There's one catch, though. Such a feat would require scientists to reprogram our cells, something that's currently impossible with today's technology. I actually did some calculations years ago and found that if we could cure human aging, average human lifespan would be more than 1,000 years. Magalhães, told Scientific American. Maximum lifespan, barring accidents and violent death, could be as long as 20,000 years. This may sound like a lot, but some species can already live hundreds of years, and in some cases, thousands of years. What are the ones that live thousands of years? That's crazy. I mean, a tree, okay, but what else? That's crazy. Wonderful. I don't know. I mean, so here's the thing. How much would the world population be if the average person, let's say, lived 5,000 years? I mean, with the boom of births and stuff? Yeah, you know what? We're probably not in that club either. We're not in the live forever club. I'm pretty sure that if they do sort it out, it's going to be a great party, but we're not invited. But anyway, who wants to live forever? That's crazy stuff. Huh? I don't know. I mean, would you choose to live 10,000 years if you could? Could you imagine that a 30-year mortgage would be nothing all of a sudden? Be like, it's like, renting a DVD all of a sudden. That's crazy. I don't know. Imagine the debt we could get. We've got like 5,000 cards all maxed out. I'm sure. Well, anyway, could it be? Yeah, I imagine they'll probably sort it out eventually. There is a very clear process that happens to us. There's some genetic triggers that just suddenly kick in, and then we get the genome duplication starts degrading, and hence aging happens. So if they could sort that out, I guess it's worth a shot. I mean, if you look at cancer cells, they don't ever die. They're pretty much immortal. That's why they just overcome entire bodies, is because they don't die. They got some little hook on the end of their genome that circumvents the whole aging thing. So, yeah, I mean, there's precedents for things that in nature, like certain diseases and stuff that don't seem to undergo the aging process. So, yeah, I'm not going to be first on that list either, though. Let's say they did open it up to everybody. Would you be the first one to sign up for that? No, don't do it. Don't do it is my take on it, because you never want to be the first. Let them iron that stuff out for a few, like a decade or so before. I'm curious if they'll be able to reverse aging. So, like, if they do ever sort out aging, would they just be able to reverse it? Like, because here's the thing. I'm getting up there, I guess, really, quite honestly. I don't feel like it in my head, though. Like, in my head, I'm still 20-some years old, But my body definitely doesn't feel 20-some years old anymore. It hurts a lot. And so I think there's probably a correlation there. We could live maybe quite a bit longer and handle it okay. I don't know about thousands of years, though. I wonder if people just go nuts. Just because how much stupid could you handle? When you're just alive for our lifespans, how much stupid have you guys seen throughout the course of your life? You're just like, oh my God, how much stupider could people be? Well, if you got 20,000 years of that, man, that'd probably do a number on you. So let's get to the next one and see what the hell. I don't know. You ever heard of that? Maybe you didn't know about that before, but again, it's my job to teach you things here as well. So let's go to the next one. What the hell is this? Did I actually have the same one twice? Oh, I did, didn't I? Yeah. Way to roll. Way to roll. I'm a pro here. All right, let me actually get the next article. And we'll get to this one now. And paste. Let's see what I pulled up here. Oh, yeah, this one's tragic. This one's a tragic one. Unexplained-mysteries.com brings up this one. Woman dies after drinking too much water on boat trip. And that's, I had a friend that actually came close to doing this himself. He was on a real health kick. And so he essentially started drinking just like truckloads of water. He was always guzzling water, drinking water and stuff. And essentially, he ended up basically desalinating his body, his blood. And without that sodium, you will die. Your organs will shut down. And so he was actually going into organ shutdown. He came really close to doing this. He started fainting and having real problems and had to be rushed to the hospital. And he was in the hospital for several days as they got him back on an even keel there. But man, you can desalinate your body. There was actually a contest that I don't know if it was a radio station or some show had where they had a contest. Who can drink most water? And somebody drank like a gallon of water, got a headache and died after that. Just like gluk, 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 gluk. Whole gallon of water, and like within an hour they were dead. They desalinated themselves completely. So yeah, you can't actually drink too much water. You got to have the electrolytes and things in there. Otherwise you're screwed. So be careful out there in your health kicks about drinking water. I drink a lot of water, but I also, have some sodium in my intake, so I'm okay. All right, the freak incident occurred when the mother of two chugged multiple bottles of water in a short space of time. 36-year-old Ashley Summers of Monticello, Indiana, had been enjoying a boat ride on Independence Day during particularly warm weather when the incident happened. Having been extremely thirsty, she consumed 4 bottles of water within the space of 20 minutes. Upon returning home, she complained of a sore head, passed out, and just never woke up. According to doctors, Summers had suffered from water intoxication, a rare condition that can occur when someone drinks too much water, drinks too much water so that it throws off the body's electrolyte balance. This in turn causes sodium levels to drop, resulting in lethal swelling of the brain. It pinched off her blood vessels like a kink in a hose and stopped the blood flow to her brain, said her brother, Devin Miller. It was a big shock to all of us. And I was like, this is a thing? I'm so sorry to hear that. That's tragic as hell. Poor woman. Yeah, you can't overdo it. She should have been drinking Gatorade or something. That would have done much better, or one of those energy drinks, because they do have sodiums and electrolytes in them. So not generally what you want to drink if you're just looking for a quick thirst quencher, but if you're working hard, yeah. Wow, that is absolutely tragic. So there you go, folks. I hope you've learned something special, something powerful, something that just enriches your whole life experience, because that's what we're all about here on the show, is making your life a better place. I don't know if that's always true, but it's always my goal. So I don't know if I always hit that mark. I don't always hit the bullseye, but by God, I'm trying. So yeah, Red Bulls. Rick says, well, Red Bulls. Yeah, that might be a little bit. If you drank 4 Red Bulls in a row, you'd be probably in caffeine intoxication or something. I don't know. That's a lot of juice. But anyway, yeah, tragic story. I'm sorry to hear that, but it can happen. Be careful. Don't drink too much water too fast. But that's going to conclude our news. So I guess without further ado, let's get back to it. Are you ready? Here we go. All right, sorry about that. Can you show the article as you read it? We can't see them. Well, I thought I was going to be, I guess I should have looked. But let me do this. Is this about the water one? Is that the one you want to see? I'll just put the link in the YouTube chat here so you guys can see it. There it is. That's the one. But yeah, woman dies after drinking too much water during boat trip. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever actually had a Red Bull. I think I might have. Was that the one she wanted? Screen share in the chat on the screen. Brent normally does. Where's the screen share? Did you guys not see that? I'm curious now. I gotta look at this. Hold on. Boom. Yeah, it's there. Maybe I wasn't doing it. Maybe I was just staying. Maybe I just stayed on this. Did I? I thought I hit the button. Sorry if I screwed that up. My mistake if that's the case. But that's the article if that's the one you're looking for. Was that it, Rachel? You have to let me know. But tragic story nonetheless. Okay. So let's see. There's another thing we got to get to now, and then God, I don't like this sound issue. It really frustrates me. Oh, the word brother came through on the ghost detector at about 7:25, which was literally a minute ago. The word brother came through. Well, hello, brother. How you doing? That's pretty cool. Okay. We're going to get to another segment of our show here that I always love doing. This one has been a lot of fun because it gives us a chance to talk to you about your perceptions of this stuff. And of course, I'm speaking of our Discord, which is where we're going next here on the show. Let me pull up this screen and get ready, because it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for our Discord question of the week. Ooh, sounds kind of spooky. That is so obnoxious. I don't know. It wasn't doing the feedback thing the other day and with Don was here, but now it is. It's all kinds of freaking frustrating as hell. But anyway, this is our Discord question of the week, ladies and gentlemen, and this is our Discord server. If you want to be a part of it, we'd love to have you over here. And I'm going to pin a comment in the YouTube chat, and this is to join our Discord. Follow this link. https://discord.gg/paranormal portal. Oops, no space. All right, so there's the Discord link if you want to become involved in our Discord community. If you like the chat that's happening here on YouTube and you're like, I'd like to talk to these people a lot more, then this is how you do it. Because a lot of our YouTube community is already over on Discord. So if you want to get over on Discord, this is how you do it. Follow that link and it'll bring you right there. And let me stretch out the chat a little more. There we go. I'm waiting for someone to type something. Let me just do this because I want to pin it. If I can't pin it unless I got those dots. Where is it? No, it didn't work. Hold on. Where is it? There it is. Pin message. There we go. Now it'll be pinned to the top of the chat. So if you want to join the Discord, click that link. And yeah, I am Pam. You are there. Brent, it was the water article. All good. Okay. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that. All right. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't realize I hadn't screen shared. Because of the sound stuff, it takes me out of my seam. Like you get into a rhythm over the years of doing things, and once something like this happens, it takes you completely out of it because you suddenly have to think about feedback, and so fading and up and down and muting and unmuting is continually an issue. So I'm out of my comfort zone right now. But anyway, the Discord question of the week is our chance. I don't know what the hell I was saying there. Our chance to field some kind of paranormal question to our Discord community and to see what you guys think about this stuff. So it could be about cryptozoology. It could be about ghosts. It could be about UFOs. Could be about strange phenomena. But it's our chance to ask you because through the course of these shows, you hear about my opinion and Don's and Sheldon's as well as, a matter of how things work. But this gives you guys a virtual microphone so you guys can weigh in on these questions and let us know what you think. And honestly, this has been a great part of the show because you guys have brought things to the table that I may never in 100 years have thought about. It's like, wow, that's a great take. And they're all great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying some of them are great and some of them aren't, but you guys have introduced me to concepts that I may never have come up to on my own. And that's a good thing because with the calcification of my cerebral cortex, I need all the help I can get. I don't think it's calcifying. I don't know. Some days I do, some days I don't. I feel like a mental ninja sometimes, and then I feel like I'm in a wheelchair mentally. But anyway, here we go. All right, so this Discord question of the week is, again, thank you to Chucky Danger for keeping these rolling and helping me out a ton. He's come up with some great questions on his own, and if you have questions that you'd like to have asked, please let Chucky know because he will post them at a future question date. And basically, these questions are posted before every live show so we can discuss them on the next show. And there's 3 questions every week. If we do 3 live shows and no guests, then it would be Wednesday night, Friday, Saturday night. So tonight, of course, is the Friday night question of the week. And Chucky says, after talking to locals in Puerto Vallarta about their experiences with cryptids and hearing tales of USOs, or unidentified submersible objects, and reptile men coming out of the ocean and stealing watermelons, do you think that local people in any region are more inclined to believe in the tall tales, the tales of local cryptids than cryptids from other places? Yeah, does being part of a regional community make you more prone to believe in that region's cryptids? That's a good point. Good question. First up, Eric the Purple Hobbit's weighing in. He says, you never know. Sometimes telling tales helps make the bad day better, keeps unruly children in line, or just entertains residents and tourists alike. It may be due to traditions such as folklore, honoring the experiences of generations from before, but in some cases, who actually knows how many believe things like this have been encountered? Maybe in centuries past, maybe just yesterday. Never ever casually discount these incidents, or you may end up on the 411 program. Hope you're all blessed in these trying times. So that's a great take, Eric. Thank you. That's a good point that it may be folklorish. It might be legitimate, but at any case, don't you pay attention? I mean, isn't it good? Not that you got to suddenly be afraid, but to be aware. I think that's honestly in the Bigfoot community, that's one of the big motivators for a lot of people out there that are doing the work, trying to find proof, because they think people have a right to know. People have a right to know that there's these huge things in the forest that may or may not be dangerous. They're not, some people believe they are. Some people believe they're very benign. But at any rate, you have a right to know. And certainly keeping that knowledge from the public doesn't always protect them. If anything, it probably causes people to act more irresponsibly, honestly. But that's a good point. I think this is Ariana coming in next. Again, I'd get the chopped off names here, so I don't know why. People in the Philippines have more cryptids than anyone, hands down. It is their culture to believe in them too. They are very superstitious. Yeah, they do. They have a ton of cryptids over there in the Philippines, from vampiric things to ghostly things. There's all kinds of strange creatures apparently wandering in the forests of the Philippines. But interestingly enough, I know that for tales of giants, that during World War II, apparently several Japanese soldiers allegedly had run-ins with giants on the Solomon Islands. And I'm going to look into that a little more because I think it's very curious. But I hadn't heard those claims before. But did the locals already know about that? I don't know. Probably. If they're there, I'm sure the locals knew they were there. But it was a big surprise to some unprepared Japanese troops during the World War II. But Cryptic Chaos says Mexico is a weird and paranormal place to begin with. So if the locals are saying they're experiencing that, then I'd believe them. I don't think the ocean increases their activity, though. My family is from the state of Guanajuato, which is nowhere near the ocean, but there's some super weird things that go on. It's not a tourist destination and pretty rural, while our hometown is. So the reports stay local or don't get reported. I think that's the only differences, but just like in the U.S., there are specific sightings that happen more often in certain states. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And, you're right. I think that's certainly the Hispanic cultures, like in Mexico and stuff, they are more prone to take these reports a hell of a lot more seriously than their U.S. counterparts. Like, say, for instance, if you tell police in Mexico, look, I saw this old crone floating among the trees, cackling. Well, they will actually look into it in a lot of cases. Whereas in the U.S., you'd probably be brought in and in blood tested or something. I mean, it's just so foreign to our Western thinking. But many other cultures take these things much more seriously, or at least they don't just disregard them. So I do think there's that certainly in those cultures, they are more open to the idea that there's a lot more going on here. So that's a good take. Thank you, Cryptic. I appreciate that. Chasing Mound Builders comes in next. First, Chucky Danger. Thanks for taking that adventure and providing that perspective. I think the question answers itself in a way. You nailed it. Most people in their sphere believe in their sphere of influence. Groups like ours are not common, so looking outside of one's bubble is hard for everyone who isn't searching for alternative possibilities. Religion plays a massive factor, as does geography. Yeah, that's a great point. Certainly there is that, and there's different flavors of religions, like, the Christianity in South and Central America and Mexico is, I think, more open to superstition and influence. And I don't mean superstition in a condescending way. I just mean as a term of understanding that they are more open to being aware of and being wary of more things than traditional Christians would in the U.S. So there's that. There's definitely a cultural impression there for these things. So very good points. Thank you. Arc Blaster comes in and says, I believe someone with eyewitness account of cryptids in their life would believe the testimony of others regarding their experience. Hopefully I understood the question correctly. Since we're on the topic of eyewitness testimony, I believe alphabets are actively joining groups such as this and others to mock and discredit through experiences of others, almost like a gang stalking event. I, of course, have no proof to substantiate this belief, other than that we already have learned regarding the ex-Twitter files. Yeah. Well, there's no doubt that this information is a huge flavor in a lot of ways, both in the political sphere and other spheres of influence. And certainly there are people that I'm pretty sure are paid agitators that get involved in, in all discussions just to keep people off balance. Maybe I'm no expert either. I'm just some idiot with a microphone, but what if it could be? All right. Eric, the Purple Hobbit, comes in, says, continuing on with the question of the week, or Friday or whatever, the lizard people, are lizard people or have lizard people taken over the government? Oh, dear God, Eric. That's not a question of the week. That's a question of a month. I don't know how you could even get into that. Is Bigfoot, Dogman, and other cryptids their servants? And is Brent, Shelton, and Don really servants playing gatekeeper over their lord's secrets? It could be. If I'm the servant of somebody, they better start paying the checks. That's all I got to say. Because I'm a pretty disgruntled servant. Just kidding about Brent and Sheldon. It's Don we got to keep an eye on. Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Yeah, you could be right, Eric. You could be right. I thought you'd be saying like, oh man, we're going to go into deeper question of the week. A question of the question of the week. It's like, wait, too many layers. I only have so much mental acuity here. So the unknown comes in and says, I myself find that people are coming up with anything to be a cryptid since I haven't seen anything or I wasn't there when a person says they saw something. I can't judge, but sometimes I find it's too much and some are just looking for attention. But that's my opinion only. Unfortunately, I think that we've all probably seen things presented as paranormal, supernatural, cryptozoological, or UFO stuff that's very clearly could be a million other things, but people want to jump to the strange and unusual. Like they have a real confirmation bias, and that is epidemic in a lot of this. Again, I would just refer, like if you're into the Bigfoot groups, and I'm not casting aspersions at anyone, but I'm just saying, look, you got to do more than take a picture of some trees and foliage and find face structures in there and say those are Bigfoot. I mean, you can't conclusively say that, but it's done all the time. The red circles. I mean, it's the ongoing punchline of the paranormal is, where's the red circle? I can't see anything. And, basically, I think that if you're, but my basic rule of thumb is that if you are going to present something as evidence, it should absolutely look like evidence. That if you need a red circle to validate your evidence, then you might not be wrong, but you might not be right either. And I think too many people are willing to jump on, oh, that's it. It's like orbs in pictures. The old, oh, you're surrounded by loved ones. And I'm sure we are. And I'm not casting, I'm not trying to ridicule those people for having those beliefs, but I'm just saying that there's lots of things that produce orbs in photos, and 99.9% of them are not ghosts. They are either particulates that are too close to the illumination. It could be lensing effect from other light sources that may be in or out. It could be lens flares, could be precipitation. It could be any number of things that can produce what look like orbs of light. And to jump right to those are spirits. They're surrounding you. It's just like, wow, it's a beautiful thought. But I think that evidence should look like evidence. That you could, something's evidence if you could take it to not only a group of like-minded people, but a group of skeptical people. And they too could see that something wasn't right there. They don't necessarily, that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be like, yes, this is definitely proof it's real, but that they can't just disregard it. And they'll say things like, oh, it's CGI, or it's, well, if it's not, then, you're onto something. So just my takes on it. But that is a good point. There's a lot of confirmation bias in all of this. And it does make it really muddy and soupy to try to really progress the whole envelope of this, to progress our knowledge of it, when every light is a spirit and every astral anomaly is a UFO, and it goes on, and every hedge is full of Bigfoot and dogmen and everything else. It's like, well, so if it doesn't look like evidence, or you need a red circle to make it evidence, then, I mean, I'm not saying don't share it, but don't be offended if people come back and say, look, I don't think that's what you're seeing at all. You can't, that's the other part of it, is that they come out with these pictures full of red circles or supposition. And they're like, yes, this is definitely a family of Bigfoot. I can see 15 in there. And then you say, no, I think it's just pareidolia. Oh yeah, and it's just this response, this vitriol response. And if you're going to put something out there, you also got to be ready to take it on the chin, because not everybody's going to see what you want them to see, and it's okay. They don't have to. So it goes both ways. And then there's the other part where it doesn't matter what you post. You could post, an image of Bigfoot, weaving a basket, in perfect clarity, and there'd be people that wouldn't believe it. So, I mean, it goes both ways. You're never going to convince the people that don't want to believe, and you're never going to unconvince the people that do want to believe. So it goes both ways. But anyway, great topic, great points. Fam UFOers. Oh yeah. Hey, Renee, good to see ya. So there's a lot of this. Yes. But when you witness it and get videos, that's different. Right. But even on that regard, even if you get videos and you witness something, it still has to look like evidence to the people that are seeing the video, because they don't have your personal experience. You can tell people all day long, look, I was there, I saw this and this and this. And if people still don't buy into it, that's okay. It's not a horrible thing of people attacking you. It's just that, there's going to be all kinds of takes on this stuff. But you're right. I mean, if you've seen something, that definitely gives it more credibility, at least anecdotally. It still isn't, your personal experiences aren't evidence. Like I've told the story of me seeing a UFO probably 110 times on different shows and stuff. Now, widely, people have been very open and receptive to that, but my biggest regret is that there was no way for me to film it or to provide any kind of proof. So it's my personal experience, and it doesn't surprise me that sometimes I get a message like, "Oh, you're full of it," and I can't go, "Oh no, I was there, I saw it." It's like, well, I guess, I'm sorry you feel that way. So, I don't know. It's kind of this soup right now. So I think that's a good point. You got the people with confirmation bias, and then you've got the people that, it doesn't matter what you showed them. Jesus could walk across the street and hand them a jug of wine, and they still wouldn't believe it. So, it goes both ways. Yeah. So anyway, thank you to everybody that weighed in on this and took the time to, render your opinions. I appreciate it a bunch. And those are some great takes. And we'd love to have more of you guys join. So definitely hit the question or the Discord. I am Pam. I thought you were already in here. I am Pam. Okay. Well, you're in there now. And Rick Ball just came in. Rick Bull, LOL. Good to see you. All right. Thank you guys for joining. Always great to have you here. Jack Sparrow sends his regards, Chucky says. Well, there you go. All right, so this has been the Discord question of the week, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm not even going to bother with the sound. It's just too frustrating, the feedback. It's going to be a muted day on the Paranormal Portal. All right, so what do we got now? Oh, I know what we got now. I got some articles to get through here too, and then we're going to hit the cryptid corner to round off our journey tonight. I hope I'm not missing nothing. No, looks like everything's the same. I hope Sheldon gets his thing sorted out, man. That's frustrating. I hope I get my thing sorted out too, but just a lot of strangeness in the air. 'Tis a strange journey. I see lots of things. Yeah, that's the thing. I think we all do. And here's the other part. I was just talking with Matt Knapp. He's going to be guest on our next podcast. And he and I were having a discussion. And we were both commenting on the fact that if you've seen one thing, if you've seen a ghost, if you've seen a UFO, if you've seen a cryptid of some kind, you are so much more likely to see more things after that. Something changes in the observer, the person that observes these phenomena. Something either is unlocked or opened, or an awareness is spawned inside of their brain. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, if you've seen one thing, chances are you're going to see a bunch more. I'm not sure what that phenomena is, but it's a very real thing. I've talked with dozens and dozens of people throughout the course of doing the show. And many, many witnesses who have like, well, I got this story, I got this story, I got this story, I got this story. I'm like, yeah, and there'll be just different phenomena, myself included. Started out with a growl, then ended up with haunting stuff, and then ended up with a UFO, and any number of dozens and dozens of other things that I've experienced that have been just completely mind-blowing. But it started with a growl, one thing. I was looking my whole life, but didn't have anything until that one growl. And then it was like, all of a sudden the seal was broken in my life. And suddenly I've experienced so much more. So it's pretty cool and maybe a little creepy, but it's the only life I know. So, so if you had one thing, you're definitely going to see more. So John, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And you're not alone there. Have you ever watched Paranormal Livestream and they say that you can contact a negative energy? What? I don't know if that was a question for me, but no, Tracy, I don't think I'd ever advocate anybody contacting a negative energy. That's absolutely creepy. Because by virtue of it being negative, it obviously doesn't give any care, let's just put it that way, about you. It could either consume you or disregard you or anything in between. It just doesn't care. And so I certainly would never advocate anybody contacting anything negative for any reason, because the only thing they're called negative for a reason. Negative spirits and negative entities are negative because they want to destroy. They want to just tear things down. They want to watch the world burn. They're like, it's like going into a death row somewhere and trying to, make lifelong friendships or what. I mean, that was probably a terrible example, but it's just like these people are there and God forbid any of them were innocent and framed or whatever. But I'm just saying, if people are in the worst places, that's probably not where you'd go to find a support group. You wouldn't go and look for advice from these people that are so damaged and scarred and broken. And they're probably not going to be good for you in the long run. It's kind of why we as parents watch our children. And, I don't really think that's the right guy for you to be hanging out with. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with that. It's because, generally speaking, if somebody's problematic, they're going to become a problem for you. So, and also by contacting anything, it is an acquiescence. You're creating a connection. When you're reaching out, even if you're careful, you run the risk of connecting with something that's dark, and it may not want to let you go. It may just sit and wait and watch because these things have nothing but time for you to get weak, and then it can come in and attack. So just be very, very careful. I don't know that was meant for that conversation. It was a conversation going on in the chat, but yeah, that's my 2 cents. Don't ever reach out to anything negative. Never, 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 never. Okay. Now we're going to get to an article. This one is kind of a creepy article. It could very well have been part of the news, but I just pulled it up as its own thing because I thought, wow, when you're having a bad day, sometimes it's a really, really bad day. And this poor woman, all right, I will say this. If you are at all squeamish at the sight of blood, please avert your gaze from your screen and just listen. There is a graphic picture right off the top. This is from Yahoo News. Can't remember where I just picked it up not long ago. It was posted online by someone, but it was just like, oh my God. So are you ready for this? We've all had bad days, but I'm telling you, this poor woman had a pretty damn bad day. Oh, I think I left that open. It might play again, but let's get it off there. Let's get that off there. Okay. Here it is from Yahoo News. Hawk drops a snake on the woman, and then both animals attack her. Well, she must have pissed off the gods in some way. I think at that point, you can be pretty sure God is pissed at you for something. A Texan gardener says she was relieved to be alive after being attacked by a snake that fell from the sky and a hawk that swooped down to reclaim its prey. Peggy Jones, 64, was mowing her lawn when the passing hawk dropped its dinner directly onto her. The serpent quickly coiled itself around her arm and bit her repeatedly. The hawk then joined in the melee, attacking Mrs. Jones' arm as it tried in vain to untangle the snake. The snake, was starting to dart at my face, and he was striking my glasses, and he just kept on and kept on, she said. I just couldn't get rid of the snake. I think I went into survival mode. Eventually, the hawk was able to pull the snake off of Miss Jones' arm, leaving her husband to take her to the hospital. Mrs. Jones, or it says her husband, but it's Mrs. Jones, said she had suffered deep bite and talon wounds, as well as smashed glasses, which she said had been covered in snake venom. Oh, dear God, it was venomous. Finally, the hawk, got the snake and took off with the snake, and I looked down, and I was covered in blood. My arm was pretty torn up, she told the local radio station. Mrs. Jones said that she prayed as the pair of animals attacked her, fearing the worst. The snake was squeezing so hard, I was waving my arms in the air, she told Click to Houston. And then this hawk was swooping down, clawing at my arm over and over. I just kept saying, "Help me, Jesus, help me." The incident took place in the town of Silsbee, Texas, near the Louisiana border on July 25th. Mrs. Jones said that she feels like the luckiest person alive to have survived this, but said she hasn't been left untraumatized, or she's been left traumatized. You try to sleep at night, and you can't sleep, and you're afraid to shut your eyes because you know if you shut your eyes, you'll have a nightmare and relive the situation, she said. I'm happy I'm alive. I'm happy I'm here. It showed me how in the blink of an eye things can change. I feel differently about life now. She said she believed the hawk had saved her life. Yeah, I mean, kind of put it in jeopardy to begin with, though, if it didn't drop the snake. I think this was God's way of letting me live because I couldn't figure out a way. The snake was not letting go of my arm, she said. Likely a non-venomous rat snake. Okay, so it was not venom. Okay, that wasn't a misnomer. Though the area is home to several species of venomous snakes, Brian Hughes, a local snake expert, said the serpent was likely a non-venomous rat snake. It fell on the woman and hung onto her because this was a panicked, injured animal, Mr. Hughes told Insider. Then the bird swept down to finish what it had started. It was not the first time that Mrs. Jones had come face to face with the local snake population, however. Miss Jones survived being bitten by a venomous snake several years ago, she said. Oh, jeez. Get this woman some boots and leather coat or something. My God. Oh, dear God. I mean, and I don't mean to belabor this point, but man, she got hamburger arm. Oof. I don't know if her skin is also splotchy or what's going on there, but I look at her hand and it's got some splotches on it as well, some dermal thing, but I mean, it looks horrible in conjunction with all of those puncture wounds. Oh, dear God. That would be horrible. So this poor woman not only had a snake dumped on her, but the snake then attacked her, biting her, squeezing her arm, couldn't get it off. And then the hawk's coming back looking for its drive-through. Oh, my God. That is absolutely horrid. Her hand looks like it's a sleeve of injury. It's like a bad Dungeons and Dragons roll. You've inherited the sleeve of injury. Minus 10 dexterity. Oh, my God. That's terrible. Well, I'm glad she's okay. I'm glad it all worked out. That's a hell of a story. But next we'll have Cocaine Snake or Cocaine Hawk. New movie. Son of a gun. Well, there you go. I thought it was so interesting. I had to bring it to you. I had to read it because my God, that's about as horrible as it gets. Not only did a snake fall on her, but it attacked her. Not only did it attack her, it was biting her and squeezing her, and she couldn't get it off. Not only was she dealing with that, but then she had a hawk coming down and digging his talons into her arms, trying to get the snake off. So, man, she had it coming and going. That was just not even fair. Poor woman. Well, but if you don't laugh, what do you got left? I don't know. That's a tragedy for sure. All right, so we're going to go back to some of these glitch in the matrix stories that we've been going through, because I like these. I like the discussion points. I like thinking about some of this weirdness, and these are pretty bite-sized morsels of strangeness. Again, it's an article we've been digging through for several weeks, here and there, but it's been a good repository of strangeness to discuss. So this again comes from moneyawaits.com. We're on number 80. These are eerie glitch in the matrix moments. Let's dig into the next item. This is Cat Got Your Tongue? Once when I went with my grandmother to her friend's house, I was on the porch by myself with the grandmother's friend's cat. Well, all of a sudden, the cat looked me right in the eyes and said the word meow. It didn't sound like a cat meowing at all. It sounded very convincingly like a human carefully enunciating the word meow. Wow. 2 syllables in their most thoroughly unconvincing cat voice. Like someone intentionally doing a very poor impression of a cat as a joke. But it was perfectly in time with the movement of the cat's mouth, and there was no one else around, so it had to have been the cat saying it. So yeah, I met a cat that could talk, but the only word it knew was meow. That was by Votus. So I will say this. I mean, there's a reason we say cats say meow. And now, granted, I've had several cats through the years, and not many of them have ever sounded like they were saying meow. It's just some, other version of sound. But they do sometimes make these weird noises. Like Anubis, for instance, if he's sitting in the window and there's a squirrel outside or a cat, and he goes outside too, but this is when he's inside. If he sees it out in the yard there, he'll just kind of tense up. His eyes get real big and he goes like that. His jaw just starts twitching. He's like, and then Pikachu, the little white one, every time he comes in from being out exploring, he comes in and he starts yelling. He's got this weird, he wasn't given a singing voice at all. It's just this sound. And he calls out like, hey, I'm home, I'm here. So cats are funny. They make the weirdest sounds, but I honestly don't think I've heard one ever say meow, but maybe it's just luck of the draw there. That was by Votus, and the number 81 is Lost in Translation. About a year ago, I was at work helping 2 customers fill out some paperwork. They were both Chinese, but one spoke 0 English, and the other was translating for him. Well, I sat the paper in front of them and looked down to grab a pen. As I was looking down, I heard one of them say, clear as day, "Where do I sign my name?" So I looked up with the pen in the hand and said, "You sign your name right here, sir." The translator looked shocked and said, "You speak Mandarin?" I had no idea what to say. I was just as confused and shocked as he was. I made up an excuse and said I assumed that's what he said, to hide how blown my mind was. But no, I completely heard and understood him. I don't think he believed me either, because he was giving me that look still, and it still freaks me out to this day. That's by Danimal 147. This is kind of interesting because I'll tell you this. Years and years and years ago, I did a lot of research into bizarre topics like hypnosis and things like that, and the mind, and just trying to understand what are we capable of. And in hypnosis, not unlike in some possessions, mind you as well, In deep, deep hypnosis, there are many accounts of people suddenly breaking in complete fluency into a language they've never been taught. Now, I find that interesting because, it's like, well, what are they tapping into? What is that tapping into? And then knowing that also is a common sign of possession. People breaking into ancient Latin, Aramaic, Greek, languages that they couldn't possibly have known. And yet they're sitting there spouting whole phrases of it. So it makes me wonder if by virtue of deep hypnosis, and I'm not saying it's completely a part of the brain as a mechanical thing, but is there some kind of psychic gateway that is possible to be tapped into that would give us understanding of languages? That languages are just basically combinations of sounds and articulated phrases. So is there a psychic possibility to understand languages? I don't know. I mean, you be the judge, but I think it's pretty fascinating that it happens in possessions, people breaking into ancient dead languages, like Aramaic and stuff, as I mentioned before, or ancient Greek or, Hebrew or whatever. So they can break into these old languages that are either just very rarely or regionally used, or they can, in deep hypnosis, suddenly speak fluent French, German, Dutch, whatever, just a whole different language that they'd never learned. So there has to be some. Maybe it's the whole Akashic records thing that somehow people are able to tap into these by virtue of either deep hypnosis or a possession. A lot of times we assume that the knowledge is from the inhabiting spirit or the possessing spirit. But what if it's not? What if it's just creating a gateway to this language that suddenly becomes available just by virtue of impressing itself upon a person's awareness? Is there some side effect that it creates a gateway to a language or something? And I think that's pretty interesting. I don't know. I don't know how to look into it much more, but I find it interesting that apparently within our minds, and by virtue of being very deeply hypnotized, we could tap into languages we've never learned. So I don't know. Hard to say. So when this person was doing their job, when they were just doing their job, maybe in a very, hypnotic-like state, because they've done this a million times, they just were looking down and suddenly tapped into that awareness for a brief moment. So, I don't know. Something to think about. There is a video chat in Discord. That's true, Unknown. There is. All right, number 82, naming and shaming. My dad works for animal control and is often called to jobs suddenly. He was called to his female friend's house one night unknowingly, and he showed up to the house, and a ton of law enforcement officers were there. And that's when he made a devastating realization. When somebody is suspected to be deceased, animal control is often sent in first to get the animals out, just in case they attack, etc. Anyway, he went in and made a disturbing discovery. Someone had come in and taken his friend's life, but the story didn't end there. Later in the middle of the night, my parents got a call on the house phone, and my dad answered it. What he heard made his blood run cold. It was his friend's voice, and she was screaming, yelling, and begging for her life. He thought she said her boyfriend's name at one point. My dad was very upset by the phone call. The officers he'd met that night later contacted him to say that her boyfriend had been the one to do it. He still can't explain it. Oh, dear God. It's got to be horrible not only to have a friend end up having their life taken, but then to get a call and you get to hear those moments of anguish and pain and panic. It's just, my God, horrible. That was by CMW 19933. Okay. Next up, 83. Then who was on the phone? 3 days ago, I was having a conversation with my father, and he was telling me about his university life. Basically, my dad came from nothing. He had a very difficult upbringing and went to the worst school and high school in our city. When it was time for him to go to university, disaster struck. My grandfather passed, leaving my dad to take care of the rest of the family, as he was the oldest son. He ended up in the wrong major because of some bad advice, and he regrets it to this day. The courses were taught in English, which is his second language. My dad told me that it was the darkest time of his life, and he just wanted to run away. He was even thinking of taking his own life. Now, very recently, he got his master's degree, or master's in English literature, and he was telling me that he didn't think it would be even possible. My dad just recently finished his degree at age 55. The next morning, my dad had to drive to this town because his distant relatives live there, and they are struggling financially, and my dad is a very kind soul, so he wanted to help. The town is a 3-hour drive away. He usually takes public transport, but didn't this time. He drove there, and my mom was worried, so we decided we will keep calling him every hour to check. Well, I decided to call him, and where we live, the network signals are very weak on the highway. He told me to wait, and parked at a nearby restaurant. It was like a checkpoint for trucks. I don't know what came over me, but I started crying and went on to tell him how proud I was of him. I just babbled and kept saying that he shouldn't think he is lacking because he is not. He's an amazing father and a great person to look up to. My dad started crying, and he told me that he will talk to me when he returns. When he returned, he just hugged me. He told me that 30 years ago he was visiting the same town, and it was the time when he was at his lowest. He was visiting the same relatives, and he had just taken a bus that stopped at a petrol station. He went to call his mom. When he picked up the phone without even dialing, he heard a voice, and it told him the exact same thing that I had just said to him about being proud of him and whatnot. It was my voice, years before I was born. After that, he didn't even call my grandmother. He just stood there and cried. It gave him strength to keep fighting. He said he just now realized it was me whose voice he heard. My parents are now taking this as a sign from God, who helped my dad when he thought no one was there for him. That was by Isolini. Wow, what a beautiful story. So her voice, I'm assuming her voice came through decades before, when he was in that very same place at the very same truck stop or bus stop or whatever. And when he was at his lowest, when he was thinking he couldn't continue. And just hearing those words made him stop and hang on, and look how that worked out. Wow. Again, do I know this is a real story? No, I don't. But if it is, that's incredible. That is incredible. Oh, that's a trip. It is a trip. You're right. Yeah, that's fantastic. All right. Number 84. We'll do one more. Then we'll get to some cryptid corner stuff. Number 84. If you could read my mind. This is a very short one. One time I was going to lunch with my two co-workers. We were discussing another co-worker. One co-worker made an assessment of the co-worker we were discussing, and I agreed with him. He immediately looked at me and said he didn't say that, but he acknowledged that he was thinking it. Co-worker 2 agreed that he didn't say it. Weikenarf. That was by Weikenarf. So, yeah, apparently didn't need to. Psychic awareness, folks. Sometimes springs to action when you least expect it. Would you want to be able to read minds? Would you want to be able to just, at all times, be able to read what someone's thinking? That should be a question of the week. Chucky, if you're listening to me, that should be a question of the week. Would you want the ability to read minds? I don't know. I'm just curious. Because I'll tell you what. We're all human, and we all think things that we don't say because we have these filters. But if you could read somebody's mind, you'd get everything without the filter. So the thing I think it would be take a lot of getting used to would be the fact that oftentimes people think things and don't say them because, you know, we're all human. We all have stupid thoughts. We all have real dick thoughts at times. And we all say crappy things in our heads about people. And it's just part of the human experience. It doesn't make you bad or good or otherwise. It's just a human thing. But if you could read minds, you'd suddenly get all of that garbage. I think depression would probably be way higher if suddenly you could read everybody's minds. Oof. That'd be a good question of the week, Chucky, if you're there. If you're there, Chucky, make a note. I guess I could message it to him too. Oh, Chucky's there. Gotcha, Brett. Great. God bless you. Okay, so that's that article. A few more. I don't know. We're getting to the bottom of that article, so we're almost through it. It won't be long. We'll get through it. By the way, I'm going to probably be introducing you guys to a third co-host from time to time in the future, but more on that later. I'm not going to put it all out there right now, but there's someone that's going to be joining from time to time here on the live shows. That'll be a lot of fun, and it should be some great discussions. So looking forward to that, but that's in the works. So there's always things in the works, man. I got so many works. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. All right. So I think we're going to hit the cryptid corner. What time is it? Yeah, 8:15. I think this is, but some of the cryptid corner tonight is going to be not really cryptozoological, but some of it is. The first ones are, and then after that, we're in for, I'm going to look though too, because I think I got to, okay, that's the upcoming. Okay. Yeah. So the first three that we're going to read are from SasquatchChronicles.com, the blog. And one of them is an upcoming show that's going to be coming up. And it sounds like it's going to be epic. Again, you know, please visit Sasquatch Chronicles blog because there's a lot going on over there. Wes posts a lot of stuff that doesn't ever appear on a show, but still. I can't tell you, Maggie, it's top secret, but it'll be good. It'll be good. I don't think it's anybody you guys know, but he's just a great person and should be a lot of fun to have on the show. So it's not somebody you should be familiar with, but it's someone that I'm excited to work with from time to time here on the live shows. I'm already working with him in another regard anyway. So, but yeah, it should be good. All right. So let's get to this one. This is Sasquatch Chronicles blog, ladies and gentlemen. And again, check it out. If you're not already checking it out, check it out. Okay. Sasquatch Chronicles blog from August 10th. My recent sighting of a large wolf-like creature. Sorry. My beard growing. All right, I'm trying to confirm this incident took place in Ohio. But a listener writes, in the fall of 2022, my daughter and I were driving back from one of her high school choir performance. My wife decided to stay home this time with our son because he can be a little rowdy for these type of events, as a toddler can be. Well, on the way home, it was between 9 and 9:30 or so. It was pretty dark, and we were driving home on State Route 50, just a mile or so out of town. My daughter, like most teenagers, was on her phone, so the car was pretty quiet, and we were going about 50 or 55 miles per hour when suddenly this very large, dark brown dog-looking thing shot across the road from a dry creek bed into the field across the highway. I've been in the woods my entire life, and I've seen coyotes and all sorts of other animals. I grew up hunting and fishing. There isn't an animal in our area that I haven't seen in the wild. Bear, deer, fox, you name it. But this was something very different. First, it moved faster than any animal I've ever seen move in my life. It was like the Flash in the comics. It was so fast, by the time I told my daughter, look at that, she only got a quick peek and said, big dog? I said, I didn't know, but I knew it was much larger than any dog I'd ever seen before. And it moved like unlike anything I've ever seen. It must have covered 100 yards in just under 3 or 4 seconds. It was like a blur almost. I remember seeing clearly through a large snout and ears that stood straight up like a Doberman. It had a very large mane like around its head, though, but the ears were sticking out of the hair. It almost reminded me of a chow dog, but with a wolf's ears and muzzle. It was dark brown or almost black, and it ran on all fours. I actually got up the nerve to stop at the spot in the road one day on my way home from work. It was daylight, and I could see the creek bed, the fence, and the slope of the hill up the road on the side where it took off from. I realized it had to be almost 4 feet tall on all fours, as I compared my memory to the size of the fence and the road sign on the other side of the road. I can't get out of my mind that it was so fast. It gets weirder. I feel like I saw something very unnatural that night. Yeah, that's crazy. Again, we see things like deer running. We see dogs that can just, really fly. They can just move. But for some reason, and this is something I talked about the other night, these cryptids, when they move, they are so fast. The unknown. Welcome to Paranormal Portal, peeps. Thank you, unknown. Appreciate it, brother. And I'll give you a heart. Give you a heart in chat. Ding, ding, ding. All right. But they move so fast. And again, one of the biggest things that I've taken away from all of the stories I've read is sometimes people see them at a big distance. And again, I said this the other night too, but they see them at like 40 yards, 50 yards away. And these things are not coming at them. But just when people observe the incredible speed and agility, they become terrified. Even though it's not interacting with them at all, it's just something they're able to observe. People become afraid because the speed is so much more than they can conceptualize. It's like however fast they're moving. They're moving so fast and so gracefully that it's absolutely unnerving. And maybe it's because the people seeing this are just like, well, yeah, if something like that's coming after you, you're dead. I mean, you are dead. You can't outrun it. You can't outmaneuver it. You can't do anything but hopefully die quickly, I guess, if it was coming for you. But that's absolutely horrifying. Yeesh. Yeesh. I would not like that. Would not like that at all. But it is amazing because, again, these beings are huge. They're not your average, slimline greyhound kind of animal. They're big and bulky, and yet they move with lightning quickness. So that just denotes the strength that they have, this unimaginable amount of strength and ability that they have concealed in their frames, and it also denotes how little we actually have. I mean, they're strong people, incredibly agile and athletic people doing amazing stuff. I love watching the videos where people do, these like the X Games kind of stuff. They're doing these amazing flips and maneuvers on skateboards or bikes or whatever. And it's like, I just get excited because it's just showing people that are breaking the boundaries, in parkour. I love watching parkour runners. Those people are amazing. And they're doing things that science didn't realize we could do. Like, oh, you can't jump that high. You'll shatter your ankle for sure. It's a medical conclusion, foregone conclusion. And yet these people are jumping 2 or 3 stories, landing and rolling, and they're absolutely fine. So they're doing things which are fantastic, but we're still so far out of the game when it comes to comparisons to the abilities of these creatures. It's amazing. But anyway, this one's next, Sasquatch Chronicles blog. This is the upcoming show from August 10th. I don't know when he's going to actually have the show, maybe this weekend, perhaps on Sunday. But it is Gorilla Man. A listener writes, in 1962, I was only 12 at the time of the encounter, and this happened in Crandon, Wisconsin. I've been reaching out to find others in this state who have seen a Bigfoot. I can give a very detailed description of the day, his face, which I thought was so horrendous at the time, and his hands, etc., something many people don't get a good look at. This happened late afternoon, just before the sunset. It was very confusing, as I thought I saw a gorilla man or else a freak that escaped from a circus freak show. It was an event that made me depressed and gave me many sleepless nights / weekdays with nightmares. And I'm attaching an AI picture that closely resembles the facial structure of the type that I saw. Yeah, could you imagine? I mean, just imagine. You look up, you hear a noise, you look up, and this is the face that's looking at you. Now, I don't know what a happy Bigfoot looks like. And this might be a happy Bigfoot. I mean, I don't know the happy face for a Bigfoot. But if this is not the pissed face, then I don't want to see the mad face. If this is the happy face, I don't want to see the mad face, because that is absolutely frightening. Lily, woo! Oh, that's wonderful, Lily Pond. We'll be certainly excited to have you back when you can be back more regularly. But thank you for stopping in. Yeah, that's a very sobering face. And if you knew, like, you're seeing this, and you know it's real. I mean, it's not like, okay, this isn't my imagination. Some of the weirdest stories dealing with Bigfoot are the ones where they are like looking in a window and watching a person, and the person sees them. And the person looks at them, and they're looking at the person. And then the person will smile, and the Bigfoot will smile. Person will make an O face or something. The Bigfoot makes it. It's like it's mimicking. It's like, wow. But still, it's just on the other side of this little thin pane of fragile glass. And what is it doing? What does it want? I assume that is generally just curiosity. It's like, what do they do in those boxes that they live in? What do they do in those boxes? And they go and watch and check us out just because it's maybe entertaining. Maybe it's stimulating mentally for them. Because, again, these creatures live in the forest, in the wilds, and how many sticks can you see before you just start going batty? So they come and watch the different stuff that we're doing. That's unusual. Lots of colors, lights, sounds, smells that they're never experiencing, in the wilds that they live in. So I imagine they spend quite a bit of time watching us, just because what the hell else are they going to watch? They've seen everything else in their areas. So maybe that's why campers get so commonly visited by these creatures if they're in the areas, because we're about the best thing on their TV. We're the only thing on their TV, because otherwise it's, wonder if the squirrel's going to come out today. Yep, there it is. There's the squirrel. So, other than building structures, what do they do to mentally stimulate themselves? Well, I think they watch us. They watch us and they think about what we're doing. Now, I don't pretend to know the intelligence we're dealing with, but I assume, I really do believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of us, that in some ways may be much advanced to us, but in other ways much more primitive than us. I mean, they'll never change the transmission in your car. But, there's intelligences we have, mechanical intelligences, that I guess they probably don't have or could not have or haven't developed. But there's other intelligences where they're prodigies, just like the natural awareness, the living, the hunting, the surviving. I mean, these are genius level creatures in their own element. So, but I think they also, I think they also have profound thought. I mean, I don't think it's the same as our thought necessarily, but I think they have emotions. I think they have curiosities. I think they have, humor. I've heard people talk about them laughing, and a lot of people say that when they laugh, it's very much like Scooby-Doo, like, like I can never do it on command on the shows, because I have to be kind of loud to do the Scooby-Doo laugh. But yeah, I mean, it's just that maybe they do. Maybe we're the fun part of their days. But God, that's not a fun face. That's a face that would just, that's just a face that'll carve a line into your memories forever. But anyway, let's go to the next one. This one's from August 5th. It says, I cannot believe that they're behind my house. A listener writes, I live in upstate New York, 15 minutes from the heart of Rochester, which is the third largest city in my state. My house is just on the outskirts of a densely populated suburb by the name of Chile. So, where the suburbs end and the country begins is where my property is located. I own an acre of land, but am surrounded by hundreds of undeveloped hardwoods. Hundreds of acres. Hardwoods and farmlands with Black Creek that runs about 400 yards behind my house. I cannot believe that they are in the woods behind my house because of how close it is to suburbia. Have you ever had any other people report Sasquatch activity close to Churchville, New York? If so, I'd love to hear about other locations near me. Well, I've been hunting white-tailed deer in the woods behind my house and in the surrounding area for the past 9 years, and did not notice any odd or peculiar behavior or activity for the first 5 years. Well, in January of 2019, my friend and I decided to go coyote hunting one night behind my house along the creek right on the edge of the swamp. We set up one of the fake motorized dying rabbit calls and set up on a huge fallen over tree with our rifles. It was about 2 a.m. and we'd been out there for about an hour with no action of any kind. I remember it being very cold, maybe about 0 Fahrenheit. And no noise to the point of where it was extremely noticeable. And that's when we heard a very crisp and clear wood knock that pierced the silence and dragged our attention to our left about 70 yards. I turned to him and said, "Hey, that sounds exactly like one of those wood knocks that you hear on those retarded Bigfoot shows." Well, we both laughed and ignored it. We sat for another 30 minutes and decided to pack it in for the night. Nothing else happened, but this was the very first sign of Sasquatch activity that I consciously made note of. Fast forward 8-9 months into hunting season, and I believe it was about mid-October, bow season. I was trying to track down a nice trophy buck that I had on my game cameras. Well, I ended up finally spotting him at night crossing the road when I was coming home one night about a quarter of a mile from my house. I saw him enter a property I did not have permission to hunt. Knowing my opportunity to take this buck was dwindling, I decided that he was going to engage in a little poaching. My plan was to go home, put on my hunting camo, and walk from my house a quarter mile down the street to the property and build a ground blind the night before, and then go back home, catch some sleep, wake up early a couple of hours before sunrise, and hunt the ground blind the entire day. So when I got back to my house, put on the camo, and began walking down the road to build the ground blind, it was about 10 p.m. To get to the section of woods I was going to, you had to walk next to a horse paddock. Well, as I was walking next to the paddock, the horses started walking up to me, which drew my curiosity, so I stopped and began to pet the horses. While I was petting the horses, a motion light mounted about 20 feet up towards the peak of the stable barn flicked on about 70 yards from me. This drew my attention immediately to a tall, dark, slender figure standing near the light. The horses started to panic and were running back and forth across the paddock. I thought it was the farmer staring at me, getting ready to have me arrested for trespassing, so I slowly backpedaled to the road and started jogging down the road in the opposite direction from my house. After I ran about 200 yards, I turned off the road onto another property and walked about 50 yards to the edge of some hardwoods and stood there staring back at the road, listening for any movement coming in my direction. That's it. What do you mean that's it? That's all there is. Well, I guess that's where it ended, maybe? Okay. Yikes. It was up near the barn, I guess. Yikes. I guess it didn't pursue him then, but that's kind of where it cuts off. That's weird. Huh. Then there's some responses, but that's about it. Okay. I was not expecting that ending being so abrupt, but It's possible that a couple paragraphs got chopped off there for some reason, but at any rate, yeah, they can be anywhere. In fact, surprisingly, this person talks about how the first 5 years it was nothing, and then suddenly there was. But I keep thinking about how we continually encroach. We continually expand our residential areas, and everybody wants to live out of the city. They want to live in the nice, wooded area, kind of close to nature with a nice view. And so to do that, we got to tear down some of that nature in order to make a new place. And so is this a case of some of these things being displaced just by developments? Developments are going up like crazy everywhere, and the housing right now is going absolutely bonkers. So would that change their behaviors? Would that change where they are? What if those houses are going up right where they used to live? Now they got to live somewhere else. So I don't think it's that they find their way to the suburbs. I think it's more of the suburbs find their way to them, and these are potentially lifestyles and territories that they've had for hundreds, if not thousands of years for a family group. Who knows? And so I think we're the ones that are pushing our way into their world more and more, and it probably displaces them as well. So the forest they used to know and hunt and live in for part of their time, I think they probably have a pretty big range, but maybe they couldn't go back to one of the places they usually go to, so they kind of worked their way to the closest wooded area, which managed to be this place. I don't know. It's all speculative, but at any rate, I know New York's got no shortage of Bigfoot sightings and things up there. I didn't know about this area specifically, but yeah, there's a lot of strangeness all over the place. Again, one of my biggest epiphanies in my life was coming to understand that this was a global phenomenon. It's not just a Pacific Northwest one. I was just gobsmacked when I heard that. I was just like, what? What do you mean they're everywhere? What do you mean they're in every state? You could have pushed me over with a feather. I was so blown away by that because this is a Pacific Northwest phenomenon for me when I was growing up. This wasn't a universal kind of thing, but it became it. It became universal. So I don't know, but what do you guys think? Another good question of the week, Chucky. Are the Bigfoot moving to us, or are we moving to the Bigfoot? That's a good question. Always got questions. That's the main theme of our show, unfortunately. And I don't have any more answers, just a lot of ideas, a lot of possibilities. So, all right. Am I missing anything? Anything in chat I've been missing? No, you guys are seemingly doing your own thing in chat. Okay. All right. Let's continue on then. We're going to go over to Phantoms and Monsters and talk about some cryptid stuff there. Again, this is Lon Strickler's site, phantomsandmonsters.com. Great site. Check it out. Tons of encounter reports over there from many, many different sources. Some of them sent to Lon directly, and some of them he's gleaned from other sources or other communities that he's a part of. And it's a great place to find a lot of their research efforts into many phenomena with the Fortean topics, such as Mothman and Dogman and Bigfoot. So they've got entire groups of people working together looking into these phenomena. And Lon's published works and Phantoms and Monsters podcasts. So you can find a lot of stuff over there on phantomsandmonsters.com. Check it out. Support what he's doing. And head over to his YouTube page and subscribe to him there because he's working on building his YouTube numbers. It's a tough thing, believe me. I've been at this for, 7 years now on YouTube, and it's tough. It's tough. It's a lot of work, but that's how we found all of you, and it's made it so worthwhile. All right, so here we go is the first one from phantomsandmonsters.com. What is this at the back of my mind? I wonder, because of human encroachment, there will someday be a Bigfoot ambassador to talk to us. Gotta be cool. That'd be really cool. I mean, are they that intelligent? Yeah, maybe. There's stories of First Nations tribes trading with them. So apparently they've had interactions with people in the distant past, but that'd be awesome. Be awesome if we understood more about them and could understand what they want, what they are, what are they doing, what do they need, what do they not need. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. So let's go to this one. Phantoms and Monsters. Oregon man now a believer of the forest people. Oh, that's cool. I like that name for them, the forest people. And I think it is important to regard them as a people because, generally speaking, they have quite a bit in common with us physiologically. Although we're not covered in hair and we're not enormous and don't live in the woods, they have feet look very much like ours, hands that look very much like ours. They got the hooded noses just like we do, not the open gorilla nostrils. So they seem to have quite a bit and familiar with us. So a people, I like that. And I know a lot of like First Nation cultures called them the forest people, Big Brother, many other names that basically equate to that same idea. The old man of the woods or the old man of the forests. There's many great names, but they were not considered beasts, although they sometimes were referred to as devils, in a term, not specifically that term. But, you ever see names on maps for like Devil's Peak or Devil's Pond? Chances are there's a possibility. There's some creepy history there or run-ins with creatures that terrified whoever made the maps. An Oregon man is out in the forest cutting kindling when he senses that he's being watched. And later he talks to a native man and is convinced he is being observed by a Bigfoot. In July 1976, my wife and 2 children, ages 12 and 7, and I moved across the Oregon Cascade Mountain Range from the Corvallis, Oregon, to Sisters, Oregon. At the time, Sisters was a small mountain range. I was so naive as to forest management. I didn't know there was designated areas to get firewood. Well, during a Saturday in late October, we were running low on kindling, so we decided to go south as sisters about 12 miles alongside the road, where there is a large growth of 2 to 3 inch diameter trees, with many blowdowns on the ground. We figured they would be easy to collect and sew up and load into our vehicle trunks. The morning was chilly, high 20s, low 30s. So about 8 a.m. we bundled up the kids and ourselves and headed out in our 2-car caravan. Arriving at our spot, we pulled off the road and got busy. The only tool I had was a small bow saw. While my family gathered the poles, I began sawing, and we quickly loaded my wife's trunk as she took the kids and headed back to town. Once they were gone, I started sawing wood to load into my car, but after a couple of minutes, every hair in my neck, arms, and spine stood up. It says. I felt I was in danger and that I should leave. There was no mind speak, just an intense feeling that I was in danger and needed to leave. I also knew something had eyes on me. I immediately stood up as my gaze was drawn to a downed tree about 40 feet away. It had snapped about 4 feet off the ground and been there for a while as weeds and branches were obscuring any sight underneath the tree. I studied that tree briefly, looking for something out of place, but I saw nothing and then slowly did a full 180 turn looking for any sign of any indication of an animal in the vicinity. I saw nothing. I later learned I should have looked up into the trees, but it never occurred to me then. I tried to forgive myself for an overactive imagination, so I knelt back down and I got back to work. Almost immediately the hair stood up and those feelings and thoughts came back, so I repeated the slow turn, looking for signs something was out of place. Nothing again. I studied the downed tree to see if I could see anything behind it. There was nothing there. I brushed it all off as imagination. I said out loud to myself, if anything else is there, then all right, I got the message. I'm leaving. It took me 2 trips to get all the wood and my saw to the car. Once loaded, I went to the driver's side door, took one last look around, started the car, and left. I never saw, heard, or smelled anything unusual or out of place. The following Monday, when I went to get the kids from the babysitter, I must have said something to her. Her husband is a part of Native America and at the time was a heavy equipment operator in the Forest Service. 3 days later, when I went to collect the kids, Bill was home. Well, I'll call him Bill. It's not his real name. He was known for being a straight shooter, and I stopped at the picnic table and said hi, and he said to get some iced tea and coffee and come back and talk to him. When I returned, he immediately asked me to tell him what happened the Saturday before. Well, as I told him, he asked if I knew what it was that was bothering me. I told him I didn't know. I figured it must probably be a cougar or a bobcat or a bear. He smiled and he asked, "Did you check the trees above you?" Well, I shook my head no. "You should have." Then Bill said something about an Anan apex predator giving a warning before attacking. I thought for a minute and replied, "So, what do you think it was then?" He asked, "Could it have been a Bigfoot?" I thought he was joking, so I laughed and said something to the effect that I believe they could be real, but they were probably myths or folktales. For the next hour plus, he related his personal experiences with the people of the forest, and here's one of his stories. Bill was on a job site in Washington State using a D8 cat. That's a big machine. He was on the side of the mountain when he stopped for lunch. Where he stopped was a 600 to 700 foot cliff drop on his right. He sat on the edge of the cat with his legs dangling over the track to eat and enjoy the scenery of the valley below. Well, as he took a bite of his second sandwich, he heard a faint noise behind him, but on the other side of the cat. He turned to look, and to his surprise, his face was about 18 inches away from a huge sabe that was leaning on the track looking at him with a faint smile on its face. Sabe is another name for a Bigfoot. He said he knew he was in no danger, and he felt no fear. For some reason that morning, he had asked the place he was staying at to pack an extra sandwich for his lunch. He slowly reached into the lunchbox, grabbed the sandwich, unwrapped it, and held it out to his new friend. The sabe took it, ate it in one bite, pushed off the track, gave a slight grunt, and then turned and walked up into the woods, giving him one last look. After hearing all of his encounters, I left their house that night a firm believer in the forest people. Wow. So that makes you wonder now. So that was transcribed from a YouTube channel. I don't know which one. I guess maybe I should look. But anyway, it's from Lon's site. But so it makes you wonder. Did the Bigfoot implant that in the guy's mind to have an extra sandwich so that when it showed up, it would be there? I mean, because it seemed to expect a sandwich by the narrative of that story. Well, how the hell would it know? Maybe there is a real psychic element to these things. I know there's a psychic element to us and to people in general. We have a very strong, I think, ability to be psychic. It's just most of us don't focus enough to actually tune it in. But if these things are just out there with their thoughts all the time, maybe they're incredibly adept at communicating and just knowing things. I don't know. I do think that animals in general, and I'm not trying to equate Bigfoot with animals. I think they're very much more than the normal animal, quote unquote. But I do think that animals can sense people just out of the blue. They can sense. They know kind of what you're about. So I think many pet owners will say that there's some people their animals don't like. and it's hard to understand. But generally, people understand that it's the animal's picking up on something from that person that's not good. And so they use it as a barometer. I know many pet owners that use their animals' reactions to people as a personal barometer. Like, well, my dog didn't like that guy. I'm going to kind of stay away from him. You know, whether or not there's any valid reason to that comes apparent later, I don't know. But I think it's probably a good rule of thumb. Our animals know. Yep. So if animals know, then if these things are much more intelligent than your average bear, your dog, your coyote, or whatever, then they're going to know that and a lot more, I suppose, because they'd be able to intellectualize it a little more, rather than just, ooh, bad, stay away. Maybe it's, oh yeah, that guy's an ass, Sorry. I don't usually use that language on my shows, but you know what I mean. Okay, so very cool story, but this guy's a believer, folks, and I do believe that these things are probably very much like us, as I said before. So I know some people like to say, well, they're just an ape. I don't think so. I know that they've been apes, even apes are very crafty at not being discovered and such, but I think there's a real intelligence to these things. Because even when they try to push people out of places, it's very psychological. It's very psychological. It's almost diabolically psychological, because it's just the way they ramp up the activity to keep people out of comfort. If they want them out of an area, they'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and more obvious means over time until, if you don't listen, then you're in trouble. So anyway, but they are wild. I mean, they I don't think that they would probably bat an eye just to smack somebody down a cliff if they felt you deserved it. Like I don't think they're encumbered by the same morality that we are. It's just like we, think life is sacred. I think probably they think life is sacred too, but they also, we'll swat someone down a cliff if they've got it coming, or they think they've got it coming. So, yeah, who knows? I mean, look at people. People are capable of horrible things. All right. These are evidence photos. I don't know what we're dealing with here. These are more visual. I think I'll save this for a Wednesday night, because that's more of I don't have the TFR audience then. A lot of people just listening. This one's a black entity, but how long is it? Because we literally have minutes left. I guess there's a video also with this, so I'm going to skip this one. Don't know. We'll see. Oh, black-eyed kids. Black-eyed kids. We got to cover this one. All right, this is another one from Phantoms and Monsters. This has to do with a Louisiana gas station attendant's black-eyed kids encounter. I don't know if we already covered this one. I think we would have closed it. I don't know. Oh, yeah. We covered this one. Dang it. Never mind. We're not covering that one. I already did cover that one. Okay. Ocala National Park. How big is this one? This one I think we can do. Then we're going to have to call it a night. Young witness encounter massive Bigfoot in Ocala National Forest in Florida. All right. 3 young friends were biking along a sandy road in Ocala National Forest in Florida when they suddenly observed a massive Bigfoot across the road from 40 yards ahead of them. I wanted to report something that happened to my daughter and 2 of her friends back in 1989. My daughter, Roxanne, had taken a trip with her school friend Kimberly and Kim's brother Keith down to Ocala, Florida, to stay at Kim's grandmother's house for the weekend. Kim's grandparents had a home deep in the woods down a long dirt road. We're still trying to figure out approximately where they live, since my daughter was only 11 years old when this happened, and the kids paid little attention to details at that age. The 3 of them had taken their bicycles and were riding them down the road in the forest. The road was a typical Florida sugar sand, which makes riding not as easy as a hard road, and suddenly a huge animal walked out of the woods about 40 yards in front of them. Well, they all stopped as the massive creature walked across the road from the animal. I don't know what that means. According to my daughter, they recognized it immediately as a Bigfoot. It was looking directly at them as it crossed, and she said it never expressed any kind of emotion on its face. It showed zero concern about seeing them. On the other hand, the kids were terrified. She described the creature as being massive and at least 7 feet tall, but maybe more. She also said it definitely was not an ape, but the face was human-like and covered with hair. Furthermore, she said it had huge hands. It could have probably covered her whole heads with one hand, and she said she didn't see any claws, just long fingers. The head appeared just slightly domed, And the color she described as being like sun-bleached brown, basically brown with reddish highlights, but not orangish like an orangutan. But they didn't see anything that indicated gender. The face was more flat as opposed to having a snout or muzzle like a bear. As soon as the Bigfoot entered the woods on the other side of the road, they turned their bikes around and bolted for the house. They described their escape as terrifying in the soft sand that impeded their speed. She said that as tall and built as the creature was, there would have been no way to outrun it if it had pursued them. As soon as they got to the grandparents' house, they all ran inside, exclaimed that they'd just seen a Bigfoot. The grandmother was in the kitchen, baking a cake, and blew it off, saying they probably saw a monkey, since there are occasional monkey sightings in the area. Some places like Silver Springs, Florida, not far from Ocala, have large populations of monkeys from the days back when Tarzan movies were filmed there. I recently spoke with my daughter about the experience, and she insisted it was not a monkey or a bear, and that the animal just appeared too human to be like an ape of some kind. And she said it walked on two legs, just like a human does. She said it bothers her to this very day, that she could not rationally explain what the three of them saw that day, but they saw it clearly in the middle of a bright, hot, sunny day. Yeah, that's a lot for a kid to take in. And as a kid, I mean, my God, that's something walking right out of your nightmares, really. I mean, isn't it? That is creepy, creepy stuff. So, I don't know. But whatever you think, you got to admit, these stories are fascinating. And can everybody be wrong? Let's just look at it holistically. With the Dogman, with the Bigfoot, with, the different kind of cryptids that are out there, the pale crawlers, and, God only knows what else. Lizard people, you name it. Now, all of the reports that come in, are they all lying? So if you're a skeptic, can you just out of hand discount thousands, literally thousands of these eyewitness reports, and just say, no, you didn't realize what you saw? Now, I know people can be unreliable witnesses sometimes regarding details or exaggeration and stuff, but could they be that wrong that they would mistake this for a monkey or a badger or something like that? I mean, come on. People are seeing something incredible. And I uploaded the reverse speech. Oh, yeah, thanks, unknown. But people are seeing something incredible, and they're witnessing it, and they're changed by it. And I think as much as some people want to just disregard these things because it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to admit that we don't know everything. Like, some people are so hung up in the idea that we're masters of the universe. We're masters of the domain. We're given dominion in some cases. Some people say we're given dominion, And while I would say that, if we're given dominion, then that's a huge responsibility because we're responsible for everything in this dominion. Not given dominion that we can just misuse or abuse it at will. But I don't think we know everything in this world. Obviously, that's the realm and scope of this show. We don't know. We have a lot to learn, and that's why we're on this journey. I mean, we're just trying to figure out, what is this weirdness? What is this strangeness that many of us encountered? And what does it mean? And God, after 7 years of this, I'm nowhere any nearer to any answers, but I have a lot more ideas than ever before. And, maybe it's just not for us to understand it completely, but I think this is truly the magic and wonder that still remains in our world and is still there to be explored. So I love the journey, but, yeah, it's almost time, isn't it? Wow. It actually is time. Pretty much already. Yeah. I didn't actually connect that though, did I? Or did I? Maybe I did. I didn't hear any bumpers come on, so I don't know what the heck's going on. But I'm going to close that. Because I got to close the network. I didn't hear any music or anything though, so. But yeah, it's strange. It's very strange. I hope you guys enjoyed the journey. Again, I'll be back tomorrow night for another jaunt into the Paranormal Portal. One thing I do want to do is I'm going to come up with a way to give away a t-shirt to our YouTube subscribers. So it's going to be a random draw of our YouTube subscribers, but YouTube members, I should say. YouTube members, not subscribers. Because, God, I got a lot of subscribers, but not a lot of people showing up. But I want to give away a shirt to our members, and then maybe one to the subscribers in general. But I want to give you guys that thank you. I realize there can only be one winner, but at least you got a shot. If you're a member of the show, please reach out to me. I don't know how I'm going to do this exactly. I'll probably try to put together a plan for tomorrow's show to announce that a giveaway is going to be happening for our YouTube members. But, and then I would just ask that you be present on the day the drawing is going to happen, because it's kind of important. I've done many giveaways where it's like, you must be present to win. So we're going to do that for the YouTube giveaway for the members, for the t-shirt drawing that's going to be coming up. So if you're a member, we appreciate you. We love you. And we really appreciate all that you're doing to help keep this going. If you're not a member, we would be honored if you became a member, because, it's helping to move this forward and to keep things going and growing. And I have so many visions for what I want to do in the future of the show. So I would love for you to be a part of that. And membership is certainly one way to be a part of it. So, and thank you to those that super chat as well. I appreciate that a ton. So anyway, between now and tomorrow, I'm going to come up with a methodology for those of you that are members to submit your name, to have it put in the hat, and then we'll do a drawing night probably next week. So I'm not sure which night yet, but anyway, that's on the horizon. So I'd love for you to be a part of it as well. Anyway, yeah, I guess that's about it for tonight. So without further ado, check out the Teespring. There's the new logo collection. They're just black or white tees with the Paranormal Portal logo over the top. And I had a few requests. People like, oh, I'd love to buy a shirt, but I would just like to have your logo. And that's it. So I made it. It's out there. And if you're one of those people, please, it goes a long way to help us as well. So, and whatever you can do is always appreciated. So that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Without further ado, I guess that's it. So remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. I'll be back tomorrow night with another journey into the portal, 2 full hours, and we'll see what we can bring to the table then. So hope you guys will join me. Spread the word about these shows. Let more people know. I'd love to have bigger audiences enjoying all of the fruits of the labor. So anyway, guys, take care. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, big winks. Okay, I got to turn down the sound, mute some sound, and put up a fader, and then go to credits. Hang on.